My name is Zoe, and when I was 20, I learned that love can be a ledger, and family can balance you out of the equation. It started on a Sunday that smelled like lemon cleaner and cardboard. The porch light was still on, though the sun had risen. A little jeweled halo over the front steps like the house was blessing itself. My suitcase sat by the mat, wheels scuffed and obedient, the way I had been taught to be. Inside, the hallway echoed with voices and the soft thud of boxes being set down on hardwood. Laughter, too, Chloe's light, triumphant laugh, the laugh you make when every door opens for you like automatic glass. I stood in the doorway with 2 mugs of coffee because that's what Mom liked on busy mornings. One black for Dad, one sweet for her. Reflex, habit, daughterhood. Don't just stand there, Zoe, Mom snapped without looking up. You're blocking the way? A man I barely knew, Chloe's new husband, Caleb, shouldered past, his grin apologetic but not sorry. I shifted against the doorframe and watched him carry a box labeled baby clothes in thick pink marker toward my bedroom at the end of the hall. My bedroom. I said, and my voice sounded like a chair leg scraping tile. Where's that going? Chloe appeared as if conjured by the word where. Her hair was in a wedding day bun that had already survived 1 week of marriage. She was glowing in that way people ascribe to pregnant women, except she wasn't pregnant yet, not officially. She wore the glow like a promise she'd already decided the universe would keep. Nursery, she chirped. Caleb, put that next to the dresser. We'll paint after lunch. Nursery, I repeated. Mom finally glanced at me. It was the kind of glance you give a sales clerk, functional and brief. Close the door, honey. The AC is running. I set the coffee down on the entry table. The family portrait peered out from its frame. Dad in his church tie, Mom in pearls, Chloe with a bouquet of honor roll certificates in her lap, and me on the end, shoulders curved inward like parentheses around a sentence no one edited. My hair was wrong in the photo. I had cut it myself that spring with nail scissors. All my mistakes were visible. Mom, I said, why did the box say nursery? Because we're turning your room into one, Dad said from the dining room. He didn't come out. He kept counting envelopes at the table, tapping the stack to square it with the table's edge. Chloe and Caleb need the space. I laughed. It popped out, a hot little spark. My space. Dad tapped the envelopes again. The sound was precise. .22 caliber. You're 20. And living at home? Chloe added, stepping forward to kiss Mom's cheek, her perfume like a ribbon of peaches. It's not sustainable, Zoe. You've been, what, taking classes 1 semester on, 1 off? I'm working, I said. I pay for my classes, Chloe. Community college? Mom said, the words clipped clean. Not UCLA, not even Cal State. You're still figuring it out, and that's fine, but we have an actual timeline here. Her eyes slid to Chloe's flat stomach like it was already a crib. The future was happening to them. I was a placeholder future, the draft no one printed. Timeline? I asked. Dad finally emerged. He had a folder under his arm and the tight smile he wore at church when he shook hands with men he didn't like. We gave you 2 weeks' notice. My mouth went dry. No, you didn't. He held up the return receipt envelope like a flag. I put a letter on your pillow on Thursday. Chloe told you months ago that once she and Caleb were married, they'd need to move in. Your mother and I are not getting any younger. We can't carry a mortgage and utilities for 2 households so your sister can start hers, and you... He stopped, eyes flicking to the coffee on the entry table. That going to get cold? I made it for you, I said. He didn't pick it up. In the hallway, a scrap of sunlight lay across the floorboards like a pale bandage. Caleb reappeared with an empty box and a roll of blue painter's tape looped around his wrist. Hey, Zoe, congrats, he said, like he was handing me a participation medal. New beginnings all around, right? Chloe laughed again. We tried to make it easy. I went through your closet last night and pulled what you actually wear. It's in the suitcase. Everything else is in the garage. We can have Goodwill pick it up. I moved before my mind did, feet skidding on the clean floor as I walked. No, ran down the hall. My door was open. The bed had been stripped. The poster I'd bought at a thrift store, blue mountains cut from construction paper, was gone from the wall, leaving a rectangle of paint that looked like an absence remembered. My dresser drawers were open and empty. The little chipped ceramic dish where I kept my ring from the county fair was missing. The room already smelled different, like baby laundry detergent, like someone else's future. "Where's my stuff?" I whispered. "Garage," Chloe said from behind me, softened by fake sympathy. "Except the fair ring." "Mom said it looked childish." "I threw it out," Mom called from the kitchen. "You never wore it." My hands shook in the air, empty and useless. I could feel the ghost weight of everything that had once sat on this desk. Essays I'd bled for, a novel I never wrote, the list I'd made during senior year titled Things I Will Do to Become a Real Person. I had once believed lists could make a life. 2 weeks, I said. "You said 2 weeks." Dad leaned in the doorway, filling it with authority. "I said we gave you 2 weeks' notice. Today is move-in day. Your deadline is tonight." Something inside me bent. Something inside me broke. I couldn't tell which sound belonged to which. "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked. He didn't shrug. He would never be that uncomposed. "You're an adult. You'll figure it out. There are roommates, studios. You have a job." He meant the coffee shop where my shoes stuck to the floor and the manager spelled my name with a Y even on the name tag. "I'm saving," I said, and the words came out small and earnest and humiliating. "For tuition. For a deposit." Chloe moved past me, already measuring the wall with her hands, her thumbnails pressed to the paint like a level. "The crib will go here," she told Caleb. "I want white curtains. Light, airy. The baby should have light." The baby, who didn't exist, already had more space than I did. "The baby should have light," Mom echoed like a prayer. Caleb grinned. "We'll get one of those noise machines. The ocean kind." "Perfect," Chloe cooed. "Zoe, can you take your suitcase to the car? It's heavy." I looked at the suitcase. Chloe had tied a pink ribbon around the handle. The ribbon was not for me. "I don't have a car," I said. "Natalie can take you," Mom said, wiping an invisible speck from the baseboard with the cuff of her sleeve. "She's on her way. She's dropping you at, what is it, Bendix Avenue? The Craigslist room?" "It was a maybe," I said. "I haven't seen it." "Then go see it," Dad said. "And be grateful we gave you options." "Grateful," I repeated, and the word turned to iron on my tongue. Chloe brushed by me again, her shoulder grazing mine like a friendly collision. "You'll be fine, Zoe. Honestly, this might be the push you need. You can't drift forever." I looked at her hand, glittering under the overhead light, the diamond Dad had half paid for because Caleb was still establishing himself. The band cut a bright circle around her finger like a commandment. "Thou shall be provided for." I had always been the girl who didn't need. That had been the story they told about me, even in kindergarten. Zoe is independent. Zoe can entertain herself. Zoe doesn't cry. It was praise until it became permission to take. What if I said no? I asked, not because I thought no would matter, but because I wanted to hear the shape of my refusal in the air, a bird testing wings. Dad's smile thinned. "Then you'd be choosing to disrespect your family at a critical time. We're not asking for your room forever, Zoe. We're asking you to make space for your sister while they get on their feet." "While they get on their feet?" I said. "Chloe's been on a cushion her whole life." Silence socked the room. Mom straightened, pearls rigid against her throat. "Apologize." "For what?" I asked, and my voice trembled. "For noticing?" The doorbell rang then. as if to rescue everyone from the truth. Mom wiped her hands again and went to answer it. I heard Natalie's fluty whisper, the scent of coconut shampoo arriving before she did. She hugged me like we were at a funeral. "I brought my trunk," she said brightly, pretending it was normal to bring a trunk to pick up a friend from her own house. "We'll make it fun, like a road trip." I nodded because nodding had gotten me through 2 decades. Behind me, Caleb clapped Dad on the back about the game on TV later, like the scene in the hallway was merely weather. Chloe texted someone and giggled. Mom came back with a stack of swatches, flipping to a page called Sunbeam. "Zoe," Dad said, voice bright as a switch. "Keys." "Keys?" "To the house," he said. "We'll make a copy for you once the nursery's done. We just need to keep things streamlined." "So I can visit by appointment," I said. "So you can be respectful," he corrected. The keys were in my pocket because I had never considered they could be anywhere else. I pressed them into his palm and felt something in my chest go with them, a small metallic shape I'd carried since childhood. A sound rang in my ears, maybe the porch light humming, maybe the blood inside my skull trying to understand gravity. "Take a plate," Mom said, moving past me with a dish towel, her voice suddenly practical. "I made lemon bars." I looked down at my empty hands. I imagined taking a lemon bar and the sugar collapsing under my thumb. I imagined leaving a sticky fingerprint on the counter and Mom scolding me for it. I imagined the smallness of those scenes and understood there would be no scene. Not for me, not here. Natalie took the suitcase. I took the mug with the sweet coffee because I didn't want it to sit there cooling like an offering refused. The mug said, "Home, sweet home," in cheerful script. Oh, it was a gift I had bought for my mother last Mother's Day with tips that had smelled like fryer oil. On the porch, the air was bright and mean. The lawn had just been cut, the edges crisp like a buzzed head. I stood on the top step and looked back through the open door. The hallway was golden. The edges of family flickered in and out. Dad's shoulder, Mom's pearls, Chloe's profile turned toward light that was already hers. Caleb laughed at something I couldn't hear. My suitcase thumped behind me, obedient, the way I had been taught to be. "Are you okay?" Natalie asked. "Yes," I lied. We loaded the suitcase. Natalie's trunk clicked shut like a period. I put the mug on the dashboard and wrapped both hands around it, though the coffee was too sweet, too hot. I waited for someone to call my name. I waited for a cinematic apology, the kind Chloe got when she cried in the 2nd grade because her ribbon was the wrong shade of blue. No one called my name. "Ready?" Natalie asked. I nodded again. She turned the key and the engine startled the quiet. As we pulled away, the porch light clicked off at last, as if the house remembered there was no need to signal anything to me anymore. I watched the paint blur, the white fence become stripes. The street where I'd learned to balance on a bike when Dad jogged behind me with just 2 fingers at the seat. "I've got you, Zoe," rolled under the tires like film through a projector. The memory hurt because it was true. He had held me then. He had let go. We turned the corner. The house disappeared. I didn't cry. I held the hot mug and let it sear a circle into my palms so something would mark me from the outside the way everything had just been marked inside. Natalie reached over and covered my hand with hers for 1 second, and I flinched because kindness might have made me break. "Bendix Avenue first?" she asked softly. "Yes," I said. "Bendix." We drove past the grocery store where Mom sent me for milk, and where I had once asked for a birthday cake with my name spelled right. Past the park where Chloe took prom photos in a dress that cost more than my first laptop. Past the thrift shop where I'd bought the Blue Mountain poster, the cashier saying, "You look like a Zoe," like it was a compliment and not a sentence. At a red light, I looked into the side mirror and saw myself holding the Home Sweet Home mug like a prop, a girl whose reflection anyone could edit. The light turned green. We went. By the time we reached the freeway, the coffee had cooled. I set the mug on the floor and laced my fingers together until the bones made a small cathedral. I thought about the way Caleb had said congrats. I thought about how Mom had said grateful. I thought about Dad's palm closing around the keys. There are moments you look back on a name, beginning, ending, the incident. I didn't know what to call this yet. I only knew that I had just been accounted for and written off, and that being written off freed a blank page inside me I had never been permitted to touch. On Bendix, the Craigslist room smelled like cat pee and hope. The window stuck. The closet was a rectangle you could not turn around in. I put the suitcase on the floor and sat on it like a traveler who arrived in the wrong city and refused to move until the map changed. Outside somewhere, an ice cream truck played a song that had been cheerful once. The sound echoed up the stairwell. Natalie offered to help me unpack. I told her I needed to do it alone. After she left, I took the ribbon off the handle and tied it around the closet rod. It hung there absurdly. Pink, celebratory, proof that something had been taken and dressed as kindness. By sunset, the room was a room. My room. Not because I loved it, but because no one could take it from me. I lay on the bare mattress and listened to the building settle. I thought about the nursery that would be painted tomorrow, the white curtains, the noise machine that would sound like the ocean. I imagined the ocean in my ear and felt very calm. "Congratulations," I whispered to the ceiling. "You pushed me." I said it to all of them, and to the girl who had believed lists could make a life. I said it to the ledger that had finally balanced to zero in my favor. Somewhere below the calm, a thin wire of iron pulled taut. I didn't know it yet, but I would spend the next 12 years turning that wire into a net, into a ladder, into a web. I would learn how to catch opportunity and climb and build. I would learn how to weave my life so tight a house could fit inside it. But that night, in a room that smelled like cat pee and hope, I simply memorized the weight of a key disappearing from my hand and promised myself that one day I would own every door. What I did next may seem cruel. But why would I do otherwise? Stay with me because the fun is just beginning. 12 years pass quietly when no one is looking for you. I turned 21 in a rented studio that smelled like rain through old windows. 25 in a shared apartment above a nail salon. 28 in a one-bedroom with no balcony but a lock that was finally mine. By 32, I had offices, contracts, and properties with my initials hidden in the paperwork. I built a life the way other people build fences. Sturdy, tall, private. It started small. The coffee shop gave me blisters and insomnia, but it taught me rhythm. Open at 6, close at 3, numbers on receipts, hours logged. From there, I jumped to managing shifts, then to regional sales when a chain bought the place. I learned to read budgets like maps. I learned to smile when men interrupted and to invoice them later for my silence. When I wasn't working, I studied. Business administration, then real estate finance. Online classes at night, a cracked laptop on my knees, the hum of the refrigerator keeping time. I wrote emails that were never answered, left voicemails that were never returned, sent birthday cards that came back unopened. The silence was total, not angry, not even deliberate. Just erasure. No one called on my birthdays. No one asked where I was. The quiet became both punishment and permission. It let me rebuild myself without witnesses. When Chloe had her baby, I found out from an old mutual friend. I mailed a tiny blue blanket with a note that said, "For the nephew I hope to meet someday." It was returned 3 weeks later. Address no longer valid. So I learned to stop reaching. Social media filled the gap. I watched from a distance the way people follow royal families, half curiosity, half disbelief. Chloe's Instagram was a cathedral of filters. Perfect breakfasts in pastel bowls, her son's name spelled in pancake syrup. Christmas trees captioned, "So grateful for family." Long posts about the sacrifices of motherhood written from a spa. Dad appeared sometimes. Older, softer. Mom still wore pearls. The house on Maple Drive never changed. White shutters, rose bushes, the same porch where I'd once stood with my suitcase. It looked like time had skipped me and circled them endlessly. I never told anyone that it still hurt. At work, I became the woman people asked for advice, the one who stayed late, who knew how to turn a dead lead into a signed deal. My boss called me steady, clients called me sharp. Eventually, the word assistant fell off my title and director took its place. Then partner, then owner. The first time I signed a property deed under my company's name, my hands didn't shake. The second time, I smiled. By the fifth, I stopped counting. Each key I collected filled the hollow place where the old ones had been taken. I didn't buy luxury, I bought control. Apartments, duplexes, a lakeside rental. I renovated them, staged them, and let other people call them home. I learned the sound of profit. A door clicking shut on time, a tenant's card clearing before midnight. No cries, no apologies. No, you'll figure it out. Just clean transactions and locks that obeyed me. It was enough. Until one afternoon, Natalie called. We hadn't lost touch. She'd stayed the same. Sunny, practical, and incapable of not checking in. She'd gone into property management too, though she handled smaller rentals on the city's east side. Sometimes we swapped clients or met for coffee to compare horror stories about leaky ceilings and entitled tenants. That day, her voice came through the phone, bright and casual. Hey, guess what popped up on my MLS feed? I was driving, Bluetooth humming. If it's another Victorian fixer-upper, I'm not interested. Nope, she said, dragging out the word. It's personal. Something in her tone made me slow down. What do you mean personal? Maple Drive, she said. For a second, I thought she'd said something else. Something harmless like Maple Grove or Mason Street. But then the world tilted slightly. The car behind me honked. Sorry, I muttered, pulling to the curb. Say that again. The house, Natalie said softly. Your family's house. It's listed. Just came online this morning. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, good bones, overpriced for the market, but Zoe, it's definitely them. The photos even have the same curtains. My breath didn't move right. Why would they sell it? I don't know, maybe downsizing or debt? The listing agent's a guy named Armitage. Wants to close fast. Says it's a private seller, motivated. Private. Motivated. Those words meant trouble. Or desperation. I opened my laptop before I even got out of the car. The screen glowed with the same white shutters, the porch light gleaming like a memory that refused to burn out. Inside, the rooms looked smaller, older, cluttered with the kind of furniture people keep long after comfort fades, because it's proof they once had something. The nursery was now a guest room, the walls still a soft cream. I recognized the corner where my bed had once been, the window that faced the maple tree. And there on the sill, the faint outline of the sticker I had stuck when I was 12, a tiny blue star I couldn't scrape off. They hadn't even painted over it. Send me the listing link, I said. Natalie hesitated. Zoe, are you sure you want to look at it? I already am. She sighed. I figured you'd say that. I'll email it. The rest of the day unfolded like a movie I'd already seen. Meetings, phone calls, paperwork, but underneath it all a hum, low and steady. By evening, the hum had turned into a decision. I didn't need to think about it. I had spent 12 years thinking. Now it was time to act. I called my lawyer. Set up a shell company, I said. I need to purchase a property. Maple Drive, listed under Armitage Realty. Full cash offer. Anonymous acquisition through an LLC. He didn't ask why. I paid him not to. Within 48 hours, the paperwork was in motion. The LLC, MD Holdings, filed under a Delaware registration, clean and untraceable. The funds transferred. The deal closed in 8 days. No fanfare, no family phone calls, no key handover with champagne. Just a notary signature and a digital receipt that said transfer of ownership complete. And suddenly the house that had rejected me belonged to me. I didn't drive there right away. Instead, I pulled up the listing again and stared at the photos. Each room was a ghost. The kitchen with its chipped tile, the dining room where Dad used to count envelopes, the hallway that had felt too small when Chloe laughed. I remembered every sound the house could make. The creak of the third stair, the hum of the porch light, the way the wind slapped the windows during storms. It was all still there, frozen and waiting. For the first time in years, I smiled for no one's camera. Natalie called that evening. "So, I guess you saw it." "I bought it," I said. Silence, then a slow, stunned laugh. "You what?" "I bought it. Through a company. They'll never know it's me." "Oh my God, Zoe." Her voice cracked between disbelief and admiration. Wow. Are you okay?" "Better than okay." I swiveled in my office chair, looking out at the city skyline. All lit up and owned by people who'd never had to beg for space. "I'm going to turn it into an Airbnb, short-term rentals, families, couples, travelers, anyone who appreciates a good home." "You're serious." "Completely." "Doesn't that feel, I don't know, weird?" "It feels right," I said. "It's business." But it wasn't just business. It was reclamation. Every invoice I'd ever processed, every late night I'd ever worked. It all led here, to a digital deed with my name disguised but my heart wide open. I didn't post about it. Didn't tell anyone except Natalie. Didn't drive by or peek through the windows. I just waited. And the waiting paid off months later when the world tilted again. The economy cracked, Chloe's husband lost his job, Dad's pension shrank, Mom's posts grew shorter, the captions about gratitude replaced with quotes about hard times revealing true strength. Their perfect life began to unravel one filtered square at a time. Then one morning I opened Instagram and saw a photo that made my coffee go cold. The for sale sign was gone. The yard was bare and the caption read, "Goodbye, childhood home." Hard to say farewell to memories, but new beginnings await. Hard to say farewell. They'd never said farewell to me. I took another sip of coffee and looked around my office. Floor-to-ceiling glass, a city beneath me that hummed in my name. I could have felt triumph. Instead, I felt stillness, the kind that comes before the storm you already know by heart. Because storms always circle back, and mine had just found its coordinates. What would you do if fate gave you a chance to prove to your family what you are really worth in this life? I used to think revenge would come with thunder. Sharp, loud, final. Instead, it came as a booking confirmation, a balance sheet, and a polite reminder email. For 3 months, the house on Maple Drive kept filling and emptying, its walls absorbing the laughter of strangers who had no idea what ghosts lived there. The mortgage was long paid off, the renovations pristine, the reviews glowing. It was my quiet success story. My childhood turned into cash flow. Then one April afternoon, the notification pinged, "Booking request, 3 weeks, Matthews family." I didn't need to open it to know who they were. There was only one Matthews family that mattered. They arrived on a Wednesday. Mom, Dad, Chloe, and the boy. The driveway camera caught them unloading boxes from a secondhand SUV, Chloe's voice sharp and bossy as ever. "Careful with that, Mom. It's fragile." "Everything's fragile to you," Dad muttered. "Oh, stop," Mom said, her tone too tired to carry conviction. I watched the feed from my office, the air conditioning humming like a steady heartbeat. Their faces had aged in the small, cruel ways that life punishes arrogance. Lines around the mouth, the weight of disappointment behind the eyes. They looked smaller somehow than I remembered. For the first week, everything seemed almost peaceful. They cooked, argued, posted smiling photos captioned "New Beginnings" on Chloe's dormant Instagram account. The irony made me laugh. Then came the messages. "Hi, could we have a late checkout? The kid's been sick. The Wi-Fi isn't great. Can we get a refund for the inconvenience? We're short on funds this week. Can we pay a bit later?" I responded with the same calm professionalism I used on strangers. "Dear guest, as stated in the policy, payments must be completed before extensions are approved. Thank you for understanding." When they missed a payment, the system sent an automatic reminder. They paid late grumbling. The next week, I raised the rate by 20%. Market adjustment. Perfectly legal. That's when the silence started. No new messages. No emojis or excuses. Just a gap, like the breath before collapse. 3 days later, I got an email. The sender's name stopped me. From Margaret Wilson. Subject, a small favor. Zoe, sweetheart, I hope this doesn't feel awkward. We've fallen on hard times. Your father's business venture failed, and Chloe's husband left months ago. We're staying in this rental house that's suddenly become very expensive. I'm almost embarrassed to ask, but could you maybe help us cover a few weeks' rent? Just until we get back on our feet. Love, Mom. She had no idea the rent she was complaining about was mine. I stared at the screen for a long time. The irony tasted metallic, like blood at the back of my throat. 12 years. 12 years of silence. I remembered the cards I had sent when her grandson was born. Never answered. The phone calls that went to voicemail. The emails that came back, address not found. I had tried and tried again until trying felt pathetic. Eventually I stopped, but not before realizing that being forgotten hurts worse than being hated. And now she was asking me for help. The same mother who once said, "You'll figure it out," I typed back. "Hi, Mom, I might be able to help. Where are you staying?" I hit send and waited. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Chloe's number. "Zoe?" she said, her voice cautious. "Mom gave me your email. I wasn't sure you'd respond." I saw her message. There was a pause long enough for history to echo. Then, "We're in Maplewood. It's a rental. You'd like it. It's cozy." I'm sure I would. "Look," she said, lowering her voice, "we're not asking for a handout. Just a small loan. A few thousand. You're doing well, right? I've seen the LinkedIn posts." "Yes," I said. "I'm doing very well." "Then maybe I'd rather talk in person." "In person?" "Yes," I said. "I can come by tomorrow evening." She hesitated. Sure, 6 o'clock?" "Perfect." When I hung up, I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly. For the first time in 12 years, I was going home. The next day, rain softened the city to a blur. I wore a black suit, hair pinned back, heels that clicked like punctuation. A stranger's daughter in designer armor. The porch light was on, still humming. Some things never change. When Chloe opened the door, she froze for a second. Then she smiled, cautious but curious. "Wow, Zoe, you look different." "So do you." The living room was exactly as I'd left it. Same layout, different owners. A toddler's toy had been replaced by a teenager's sneakers. Mom sat on the couch, holding a mug with trembling hands. Dad was in the recliner, his face carved from irritation. "Zoe," Mom said, standing. "Oh, sweetheart, it's been so long." "Yes," I said quietly. "What, 12 years?" She faltered. "Has it really been in—" "Oh, time flies." "Not for everyone." We stood there in silence until Chloe gestured. "Let's sit." I sat. They didn't offer coffee. "So," Dad began, his tone clipped, businesslike. "We wouldn't normally ask, but the situation's complicated. The rent on this place went up unexpectedly. Some greedy company doubled the rates." "Imagine that," I murmured. "Anyway," he continued, "your mother thought maybe you could help out. Temporarily. We'll pay you back once I get my pension sorted." I looked at him, the same measured stare I used on clients trying to bluff. "You've been here how long?" 2 months, Chloe said. "And the owner raised the rent?" "Outrageously," Mom said. "Can you imagine? It's almost like they're trying to force us out." My lips curved. "That sounds unfair." "It is," Chloe said. "We've written complaints, but the company ignores us. Typical corporate greed." I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "Tell me, what company owns the house?" Chloe frowned. "Some LLC. MD Holdings, I think." I nodded slowly. "That's right." Dad blinked. "You know them?" "I am them," I said. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut through the rain outside. "What?" Chloe said finally. "I own this house," I said, my voice steady, calm. Absolute. MD Holdings is mine. Mom's mug slipped from her hand, spilling tea across the carpet. No one moved to clean it. Dad's face flushed crimson. You're joking. No, I bought it a year ago. You've been paying rent to me. Chloe shot to her feet. That's insane. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you? I said softly. You mean like the way you told me to leave? Mom opened her mouth. But no words came. I continued, the calm in my voice more terrifying than anger. I sent letters, after the wedding, after the baby. I called. I sent gifts. You never answered. That's not, Mom began. You moved houses, I said. Changed numbers. I got the message. Dad slammed his hand on the armrest. You don't talk to your father like that. I turned to him. Then what do I call you? The man who locked me out of my own room? The man who said, you'll figure it out? The man who took my key and handed it to a son-in-law who's not even here anymore? He stood, pointing a finger. Watch your tone, young lady. I stopped being young the day you made me pack my suitcase, I said quietly. Chloe crossed her arms. You're being dramatic. We did what we had to do. There was a baby coming. There was room for a baby, I said. Just not for me. That's not fair, Mom whispered. Fair? I laughed softly. You threw out my things while I was still living there. You told me it was temporary. And when I called, you told me you were busy. When I sent the first Christmas card, you mailed it back unopened. I still have the envelope. Mom's voice cracked. We thought you'd moved on. I did, I said. You just never noticed. The boy, Chloe's son, stood in the doorway confused. Mom, what's going on? Go to your room, Chloe snapped. He left, wide-eyed. The door clicked shut. I stood slowly. The power in the movement wasn't anger, it was gravity reclaiming what it was owed. Do you know what it's like, I said, to build a life from scratch while the people who raised you pretend you don't exist? To send messages into the void and realize silence is their answer? Mom was crying now. Dad's jaw worked silently. I didn't buy this house to hurt you, I said. I bought it because it was the only piece of home I could afford to touch without bleeding. Chloe glared at me. And now you're punishing us with rent? I met her gaze. I'm charging market value, the same rules you said I needed to live by. Don't you have compassion? She hissed. I tilted my head. Compassion is expensive. You taught me that. Mom whispered, Zoe, please, we're family. Are we? Her silence was answer enough. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows like applause for the inevitable. I straightened my jacket, walked to the door, and turned back to them. I'll make this simple, I said. Starting tomorrow, the rent doubles. That's not vengeance, it's business. You can pay to stay, or you can leave. Either way, the house will be fine. The house always wins. Dad's voice cracked like thunder. You ungrateful, after everything we did for you? I met his fury with stillness. You did one thing for me. You taught me how to survive without you. He opened his mouth again, but Mom caught his arm, shaking her head. For once, even he knew when to stop. I took a step back into the rain. Mom called after me, voice trembling. Zoe, wait! Can't we talk about this? I turned, water already soaking the hem of my suit. You had 12 years to talk. The porch light flickered above me, casting my shadow long across the steps. For a moment, the scene felt reversed. The house inside dark and desperate, the woman outside finally free. I took one last look at them, my family, small and silent in the glow of a home that no longer belonged to them, and said quietly, next month's invoice will arrive by email. Don't be late. Then I stepped into the rain. Driving away, I didn't feel triumph. Not exactly, just An unfamiliar kind of peace. The kind that comes when the past finally stops breathing down your neck. The windshield blurred with water, the world reduced to streaks of light and motion. I thought about that night 12 years ago, the mug in my hands, the word grateful burning in my chest. Now I understood gratitude. It wasn't for what they gave, it was for what they took, because losing them had given me everything else. When I reached the city, I parked outside my office building and sat for a long moment, watching the reflection of the skyline ripple across the wet pavement. My phone buzzed with an automated message. Payment reminder sent to Matthew's family, amount due $13,500. I smiled faintly, turned off the engine, and whispered to the empty car, "You'll figure it out." The same words they once gave me, finally returned, like a debt paid in full. And for the first time in my life, the silence that followed didn't hurt at all. Did you like the story? Was I too cruel to my family? Let me know in the comments what you think and subscribe to the channel. I value every one of you.